Hey everybody, this is Davey over at Paragon. I want to welcome you today to our webinar about how sales executives are utilizing HubSpot. So we've got a great group of panelists, and even our moderator today is a HubSpot user, so we're kind of excited for that. But I've got Greg Brown, who's actually a sales manager over at HubSpot. We've got Jake Reni over at Tiled, who's VP of Revenue.
Hey, everyone.
And we've got Bill Cushard from LearnDot, which is is a subsidiary or a department of Service Rocket.
Yep.
And he's a director over there, and he's going to be our moderator today. And so I'm going to hand it over to Bill, and I'm going to participate as well. And we're going to talk about some utilization of HubSpot, some of the good and the bad, how we're using best practices and different processes, and try to have a discussion today. And anybody that's attending, if you have questions, please post them, and we'll even try to talk about those questions that you may have as you're attending. So turn it over to you, Bill.
Very good. Okay, so I want to start off with sort of a setup question because we're talking about sales teams using HubSpot, and everyone thinks of HubSpot as a marketing tool. So, my first reaction was always, well, wait a minute, I already have a CRM. What do I have HubSpot for marketing. So I'm going to start with you, Jake. Just at a high level, and then we'll get to best practices and like the nitty gritty, the stuff people really want to hear. But Jake, from you, why did you start using HubSpot for your sales teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the initial reaction to this, it was probably a more honest answer, is cost.
Okay.
When we started out, we were a lot earlier, we were a lot smaller, and we didn't need as much of a robust system early on. And so we were looking at what was more of a cost-effective solution for our team. But as we have matured as an organization, and as we matured as far as like our process and operational rigor goes, that reason has swiftly changed to really like the flexibility of HubSpot and the diversity, like this, just the how we're able to use it across multiple teams. And so it's shifted from more of an economic decision-making, factor to more of a ease of use and allowing different teams to collaborate in one system.
Did you switch from another? It sounded like you just started.
Yeah,
straight with HubSpot.
Excel. We switched from Excel. Have you heard of that CRM before?
That's right. You know what? I think, a side note, I think Excel is the number one venture funding of SaaS companies, because every time you buy a SaaS product, you export everything to Excel.
Yeah.
I know this is true. Okay, so you switched from Excel and you basically started off. Okay. Greg, when people call HubSpot and they're considering Sales Hub, like, what are the reasons? Are they mostly switching from something else? Are they starting new? Like, what's prompting them to say, hey, sales instead of marketing?
Yeah, a lot of them are coming from an existing CRM that has been implemented but never used. I think of my father had a small family business for years, and they were using like Goldmine or something like that, Act. They've used something, it's been set up, super hard to keep up to date, and they're looking to kind of upgrade their kind of tech stack, their infrastructure, especially in today's world with COVID, like trying to move into kind of the next generation of systems and tools that will enable them to run their businesses effectively. A lot of them are coming from, frankly, we're seeing a lot of traction where people are using existing kind of mainstream CRMs. So you probably know all the kind of big names out there, and typically they're coming in saying, we've spent a bunch of money implementing this thing, we're not getting the usage out of it that we'd like, the reps aren't adopting it, that type of thing. And then there's also like a cost factor there as well. And then to your point, you see tons of companies come in with no CRM, using Excel, using Outlook or Gmail with like contact management, and they're just looking to kind of get their feet wet with some type of platform that can help them organize their customer data and run their business.
I want to follow up on one thing you said. You said that one of the things people tell you is with their existing CRM are, quote, reps aren't adopting it, they aren't using it, right? It's like a constant battle. Hey, put your deals in the other CRM now. So why do they think that if they do another CRM, it's like Sales Hub, why do they think they're going to adopt that?
It's a great question. As a side note, before I joined HubSpot, I was at another company that was just finishing implementing Siebel. This is a fairly large, it was a privately held software company, several thousand employees. But right before I left, the VP of sales got up and said, all right, we've had Siebel, we've been using it for 6 months or something to that effect. Not a lot of reps are using it to input their deals. So going forward, if you don't use it, you're not going to have a job. It's like a demand from the top to use it.
Exactly.
And I left shortly thereafter. But a lot of it comes down to why, most reps are kind of in between different systems, right? They are, they're on the phone, they're in email, that's kind of back and forth, and they're maybe doing demos and things like that, or on Slack. And so, updating information inside of CRM isn't like their top priorities. It's a bunch of admin work. And so what I do ask clients that question of that's always going to be a challenge. Certainly at HubSpot, we're trying to make it easier. We're trying to live and be present in the places that your reps are living. So primarily like the inbox. But there's still some level of reps need to go in and update deals and create quotes. But if you can make it a useful experience, pretty lightweight for the reps, and automate a lot of the manual stuff, you tend to see a much higher adoption.
Okay, cool. And for those listening, when and as you have questions, feel free to type those into the chat. We're watching those, and we'll get those to the panel. So Jake, this one's for you. And this is one question before we get into specifics. At a high level for you, you've been using it for a while now. Are there any sales functionality, or is there anything your sales team at a high level can't do in HubSpot's Sales Hub? I mean, this is for the people out there that think, well, we're on Salesforce and we need all that, or we're on whatever they're on and we need all that. And HubSpot can't possibly have all the things we need. So at a high level, is there anything you can't do?
At a high level, the simple answer is no. But I would say if you dig into it, there are complexities of tools that we have used to augment the experience for certain things that have made it more that I would love more functionality with, right?
Okay,
so for example, I'll give you an honest response here. So HubSpot does a great job of trying to service the need for email cadences and sequences, so that you have a multi-touch, multi-channel approach to your outreach. And so everyone knows, this isn't a secret, but everyone knows there are tools out there like Outreach and Salesforce or SalesLoft and a handful of others, which have built are purpose built for that type of behavior. And so as we initially rolled out HubSpot, a lot of those features that we were utilizing didn't exist. So we tried integrating, had some challenges there. But over time, what I was actually really impressed with is I had a survey request once on some of the features with relation to the Sales Hub tools. I gave my feedback. The product team reached out to me within 3 days, and I found myself on a call with the product team within 72 hours of my feedback on that survey, and I saw feature releases every so many months, and it got to the point where the parity is almost equal. So I guess it's kudos to the HubSpot team for recognizing where they may fall short in some of those areas, and quickly iterating to solve and fill the gaps.
That's cool. Okay, so let's get into some specifics. So, so Jake, I don't know, there's so many ways we can go with this, right? But what is one of the functions in Sales Hub that you just live by, that you can't live without?
I have quickly become really, really big fan of the playbooks features in HubSpot. What I like about it is, we were kind of joking earlier about mandating usage of the CRM, which is only the case when you create too many tasks, or we all know like the biggest issue with sellers and the reason why we end up having to really force behavior is when we create unnecessary steps and we duplicate those steps. And so like all of us who have used some of the big box CRMs before know that like you're going to have to fill that out here, and you're going to have to fill that out here, and you're going to have to fill that out here. And I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. The nice thing about the concept of playbooks in HubSpot at Tiled, what we have done is set it up so that every deal stage has a playbook. And based on being able to move the deal from one stage to the next, the rep has to go in and make sure that certain questions are filled out, make sure that certain fields are filled out in the playbook. So if they want to submit a deal to an AE, they fill out a playbook. If the AE wants to move it from stage 2 to stage 3, they have to fill out a playbook, and so on until the deal's closed. So there's no one dragging and dropping and like all these unnecessary fields being filled out. It's very clear what fields need to happen, and the deals cannot move from stage to stage without the fields being filled out from the playbook, and the automation takes care of the rest. So the workflows make everyone's life really easy.
Okay, so I didn't know about this too much. So is it a pop-up window? If I try to go to stage 2, does it say pop up, fill in these fields, please? Or are they just properties on the side?
So it's, well, when you're in the deal, right, and you're in the deal card, if you look at any deal card, you can look on the right-hand side, and in that panel, you're going to see your playbook. And you can pick which playbook the rep is going to be filling out in relation to that stage or that activity that they wanted to address. However, like let's say they go into the pipeline view and the rep tries to sneak a deal from stage 2 to stage 3 without filling out the field. They drag and they drop it because those fields are set required. It won't allow it to happen. And so the rep will get a notification that they have to fill out the fields, which is a trigger reminder to go back and fill out the playbook. And then when they fill out the playbook, it automatically triggers the movement from stage 2 to stage 3.
Okay, got it. At a rep level, a sales rep level, does it cause any friction with people that just want to move the deal because they talk to their prospect? I mean, I just think in the real world, the salespeople don't want to fill out paperwork, or is that just a habit?
It caused friction for the first 3 weeks or 2 weeks when they had frustrations with, I want my life to be easier, but I think they understand quickly that it's not changing. And if you want to move a deal, you're going to have to do it the right way. And the business wants the pipeline to be clean, and the business wants our lives to be easier. So I think it's a give there. You understand as a rep, you have an accountability for a clean pipeline. That's part of your responsibility. And by doing that and following it this way, we've made your life easier, but also you are helping us have a more accurate pipeline this way.
Okay, that's cool. I love this. I need to start doing this.
That's why that's why you get paid a base salary, right? Is to like you got to fill these things in.
Fill out the forms.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, Greg, could you talk about the playbooks in the sense that what are you hearing from your customers about using playbooks, adopting them? I want to go back to your adoption question, right? It's like, are they using them? It sounds like Jake is saying, well, they're just going to have to use it because it's required. So is it that simple, or are there other things you help with your customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think the playbooks tends to be a nice way to keep reps like actively engaged in the CRM instead of like navigating to someplace else to keep their notes. The way that our team uses it internally, we have a bunch of different products: a sales product, a marketing product, a service product, a CMS product, and there's different levels, right? And we have different roles. We have like sales reps here. We have kind of like BDRs. We have kind of inbound chat folks. And so as we continue to grow and scale, like we're constantly hiring folks. And so the playbooks allows our team to, allows any user kind of come in. If they're jumping on a call with somebody and they have a question about one of the products, they can kind of pull up that playbook and it prompts them with the questions to ask. Okay. Help them sound at least somewhat kind of educated and capture the right information. And by typing in the answers to those questions, it updates the CRM fields automatically. So for the reps, it's like it helps them feel more prepared to make sure that they're not missing anything on those calls. From a manager perspective, like it just ensures that we can kind of keep bringing folks on and enabling them to be successful, which is huge.
Bill, that's one of those points I was making about killing two birds with one stone, right? Like I don't want to, as a rep, and anyone listening, they're going to tell you they don't want to take notes and then copy and paste those notes into the CRM, right?
Yeah.
So if I can be taking my notes on a live call within a playbook, and it's also, filling out the required fields for me, I'm essentially like saving myself a lot of time between calls so that I can just get on to the next call.
Okay. So let me fix me, both of you, because we have wanted to implement a playbook. We don't call it that, but fields to fill out, right? We use the value proposition canvas. So we want people to capture the gains, pains, and jobs in part of the sales process, right? But we just created properties on the left column, 3 properties, open text fields. Please fill these in. So you guys are saying I should get those into a playbook.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you want to get out of rookie status in the, I'm just saying, like,
I'm a rookie.
No, I would tell you, like, that's going to be the big difference between you getting frustrated and saying, why aren't these fields being filled out?
Totally. Yes.
And, like, that conversation shouldn't have to happen, right? Like, the more you're having that conversation, the more you feel like a broken record, the more you feel like you're really like having to twist arms to get the job done. Where if you're setting up the way that we're talking about it, it's a requirement, but at the same time, you're saving the rep time. And so it automates the field capturing, I guess, function of a rep, of a BDR and AE, while at the same time, allowing them to take notes that like they would naturally do it. So it's happening, and you're not having to like chase it down, because if they want to get paid, like if an ADR in my world wants to get paid for deal, they have to fill out the stage 1 playbook opportunity creation, and that's going to automatically move the deal from stage 1 to stage 2 for approval, right? So they're going to do it. If an AE wants an opportunity to fall into his pipeline so he can work it, or she can work it, she's going to fill out the opportunity acceptance playbook, and it's going to magically fall into her stage 2, right? So it's just like, if people want to get paid and do their job, the playbook makes their life easier.
We use it. I'd say it's like kind of like a carrot and a stick, right? The carrot is the playbook, where it's, typically the playbooks will have a bunch of like good pointed questions to help the rep kind of better qualify and establish kind of trust with their prospect. And to Jake's point, like, it captures that information when they fill it in, so it makes their life easier. But certainly there's the stick side of it, which is like, in order to move the deal from one stage to the next, there are certain fields that need to be completed. And if they don't complete them, then they'll be prompted to fill them in. So if they use the playbook, it's kind of a very natural experience. But certainly there's that kind of like stick method of like, in order to move the deal over, we need to do this. You need to fill in these properties.
Bill, if I can kind of jump in on this too, one of the things that I'm running into, even with one of my clients right now, and Greg, you probably seen some of this too, is they're very used to what they're seeing in other systems where they have sections of information. A lot of them will have a section for, maybe they're pre-qual, and they'll have a bunch of fields in it. They can do some stuff with it. And in HubSpot, a lot of that's over on the left-hand side. It's not in a gigantic section. You can't open it up. You're not creating. HubSpot's created sections now, but you can get a lot of different sections. And what's really nice about playbooks is you can even include fields that are hidden in a playbook that wouldn't be a normal, facet, but maybe it's something you're keeping track of, or something that's helping to move the deal forward. I think we've even built some of those for you, Jake, where we've kind of hidden like some dates and some check boxes when things are done to move things in certain, for certain reporting aspects in the background. So, it's kind of hard if you're used to that paradigm of seeing sections on there, and they're big, and they're related to certain things. It's going to be a hard transition. But if we're talking about a sales team that just needs to get in and use those playbooks to get the questions or the certain meeting aspect taken care of, and I think Jake brought up a good point that we block people from just moving forward when information isn't gathered. And I think that's a big thing. I've been a sales rep for like 12 years at other companies. And even though I've set up CRM and been managing it, but one of the things that what always happen is sometimes there's just too many fields, even in all the sections. And I worked for a company where we had to fill out a bunch of fields to get it in. And if those fields weren't correct, or if we missed a box, it could mean thousands of dollars for the company, because when it went to the production team for fulfillment, that box was missed. It meant that another caveat of the business was missed. And so we'd lose money, or we'd have to go back and tell the client that we screwed something up. So to have something to walk you through what you're doing, big undertaking, and it really benefits. A lot of people use it for, I've seen a lot of playbooks used for like, hey, here's how you're going to get things sold. I like seeing playbooks to fill out, hey, here's how you're going to make sure you're not losing money, and to make sure that the internal team knows what's going on. And that's really, I think clients like the fact that if you understand what they need and you've got all the boxes checked on your end, then the client's going to feel more comfortable on the other side too, knowing that they've got a good solution, right? Put it as part of it.
Bill, what I would say here is just at the end of the day, what I tell my reps is, we're living in a world where sales is now a profession. This is not a 9 to 5. This is a profession. And if you take yourself seriously as a sales professional, there are certain things that you're going to do, and you're going to pride yourself in your craft. And keeping a clean pipeline and having pipeline integrity is one of those things. Yeah. Something like playbooks is merely an insurance policy, but really it's teaching them to have pride in their craft and understand that this is the behavior of a professional, a sales professional.
Agreed.
I love that. All right. It's time for me to get out of the rookie leagues. Do this. Okay. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to ask a different question by sharing what I found so useful about starting to use Sales Hub. And I want you guys to sort of comment on it. Because what I found was moving from Salesforce to Sales Hub was what we did. The fact that I could respond to customers, through HubSpot, right? The email feature, a form would come in. I could pick up that contact. I could respond to that person, click the button to add the template to it that had my meeting link in it. And I just 2 clicks and I can send. And then I could click the button, create a task for a 3-day follow-up. And that all took me 3 seconds. And then my meeting was booked on my calendar, and I showed up and added the link. And then I did my sales call and hopefully closed every deal I got. But that whole experience seems to me now basic, but it was a mind-blown moment for me coming from a traditional CRM and having to see stuff in there and then go to email and then go back, and then I have a calendar and I have email and I have a CRM and I have to update all these things. So Jake, I'll start with you. Did you have any kind of similar experience like that?
Yeah, I'll be real. You can do all those things in Salesforce, but it's, I have to add this feature, and then I have to add that other feature, and then I have to add that other feature. Then how much is that going to cost me? And where do I find all that stuff? Like the usability and ease of use of that. It's just it's add-on upon add-on upon add-on.
There are no add-ons. So I don't remember doing add-ons in HubSpot, right? Is my point, I guess.
That's
right?
The point. Yeah. Sales Hub is a one-stop shop, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That you're not being a la carte when it comes to the day-to-day behavior that a natural sales rep is going to have in their motion. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key, and that's the benefit of HubSpot is I'm not finding out that once we're wanting to do another part of our, or level up in our process, I'm being nickel and dime again for another feature set that has all these other things that I don't need. I just need to be able to operate like I would day to day. Right. I think that's a big benefit. So that was the eye-opening element for me. It was okay, great. I get all of this and I don't have to keep getting on the phone with my vendor to figure out what else I need to pay for to be able to get my team doing what they need to do. We can just go sell.
Got it. Right? Yep.
I think that was one of the beauties of HubSpot for me. Is out of the box, we could get going a lot faster.
Yeah. And Greg, when you're talking to customers, are they there's a behavior change, right? So I'll get down to this human nature thing, right? I'm used to being in my inbox and doing all my stuff in there, right? And maybe putting my stuff in the CRM. But this is a behavior change. And even if it is simpler or let's say better, it's hard to do that. Do you have to help customers figure out how to help people with this behavior?
To a certain degree, yes. We also try, like, as the product team is building the product, we're also trying to figure out, like, how do we not have to take that on as much, right? So like the integrations with Gmail. So most of my reps will live in we use corporate Gmail, but you know, I have a few folks that use Outlook as well, but they're in their inbox all the time. And so the ability to create an email, 2 point, choose the right template, choose the right meetings link, right? Enroll somebody in a sequence in their inbox, and have that all update into CRM automatically is massive. So I get that insight. I get to see, you know, the emails and all that they're logging on the records for deals that we want to discuss. They can kind of live in their environment. I know that our team's probably be doubling down on that as well. Try to make, you know, kind of like a user's choice, which environment do they feel best in and want to, you know, so if it's in, you know, inbox, great. Or if it's, you know, in the HubSpot CRM itself, that's fine too. To give them all the same kind of levels of features and functionalities without needing to make that choice or toggle in between both. Makes sense.
Okay.
Bill, I'll tell you another thing I love. As you begin to level up, right? You know, I was saying out of the box, a lot of things just work. But what I really appreciate about HubSpot is that until I'm at that point where I've been able to hire or even afford outsourcing, you know, a partner like Davey at Paragon, I was building my own reports and I was building my own dashboards. And anyone here who's ever built their own reports or dashboards in Salesforce, I'll just leave it there. I'll just leave it there. Okay. That's like, y'all know, it's like you need to have your own sales ops person to help you build all the complexities of the objects and boxes and et cetera. But what I loved about HubSpot was that, you know, the first day I went in there to start building some dashboards, like there was all these reports that were recommended to me, or, you know, out of the box, there was, here are sales related reports. And here, you know, before we had anyone in marketing, I was running marketing. And so I had all these marketing reports that I could create and just pull that are templated. That just saved me hours and hours and hours of work.
That experience you had with going from, you know, doing it in Salesforce and building templates and emails and meetings link and doing that, you know, versus in HubSpot, you know, prior to using our own CRM, we were on Salesforce.
Yeah.
We were having, they wanted us to start working on, you know, building some more kind of custom reports for our team. And they put together a dashboard, and like we had like a 2-hour training on basically how to go recreate that dashboard for yourself. And like, even after the training, it took forever for me to like, oh yeah, where do I go? What's the thing I need to do? And then fast forward to today, like one of my favorite features, frankly, is like the dashboards. Cause I've got about 10 different dashboards that I've set up just for you know, like myself and my team. So I have like a forecasting dashboard, the kind of main ones I use are the forecasting dashboard and an activity dashboard. And I set it up so that like the activity dashboard gets sent out every Tuesday morning to everybody on the team. My forecasting dashboard goes out every Thursday. If I want to change a report or I want to add a report to that, super easy to do. Like we've got a whole bunch of templates in there. And I'm obviously biased. Like I work at HubSpot, so I'm right. Like nothing but positive things. But like, hope you can tell. Like this is stuff that I like. If I had to go leave and work at a different company, I'd want this. It's so helpful not to be dependent on having a sales ops person or a Salesforce admin doing this for you. So it helps us kind of be a bit more real time, a bit more agile.
Greg, I think what everybody at home really wants to know is, can you show us your dashboards? We want
my data.
We want to see how you did it.
Yeah. Jake, what kind of reports and dashboards are you using?
Standard, like you hear, you know, I have forecasting dashboards. I have activity dashboards, and I am in the process of actually creating individual rep dashboards. That's what I want to get to next. Because I like to have what I call kind of like your AMP dashboard, is your activity metrics in your pipeline, right? And so like everyone knows where they're at all times. But right now as a whole, we have more as a revenue team dashboard. We have 2 or 3 that we work through.
Well, couldn't you just use like build one dashboard and then just filter by
Yeah,
rep?
that's what we're doing right now. So right now we're using actually some of the what are they? Is it called the revenue analytics tools?
Yeah.
Or the activity analytics tools, where you can just go into the analytics and then it's got like all the preset activity dashboards, and then right now I just filter it. And so it's kind of giving me an excuse not to build individual rep dashboards, and maybe even wondering if I need to anymore. I do like each rep to just have their own. They go into every single day, but the reality is with these new analytics tools, they really don't need to. They can just go in and just filter by their name, and it's one click and they're done.
Yeah, we do the same thing, not just for activity, but for like prospecting basically, and following up with leads and deals and things like that. And so it's a matter of how you build the view or the report on that dashboard. And if you set it as like the owner is me, right, then anybody can look at that dashboard. It's going to show their
owner equals me. Yeah.
And then so that's how we do it. And so then every when I onboard a new rep, as an example, I'm like, look, here's your like the first dashboard you're going to look at, and you just go left, right, all the way down, right? And all the data is going to, it's all your leads, all your prospects, and you'll just follow up with them one by one. But then we don't have to have. Reps will still recreate their own, they'll clone them and all that. But generally speaking, like you don't need to create, Greg's dashboard and Jake's dashboard.
Right.
And again, that's the Salesforce user in me wanting to come out, right? Because I used to have to do that. And like when you mentioned that training that you did, it made me laugh because I was thinking, oh man, I remember because I ran a global sales academy at Adobe before I came to Tile, and so I'd have to do the same thing. Every cohort I would onboard at Adobe, we'd sit down for an hour and I'd walk them one by one with our sales ops analyst and teach them how to build their own dashboard. And it was like, is this necessary? Right. So it's I think it's the Salesforce person in me when I come out, where really like it is a lot easier in HubSpot.
Yeah, we have like a view it's called like the view of the world. There's different variations, like the install base versus net new, and it's like when you onboard someone's like, look, these are the 2 dashboards. They got links to the most relevant reports. Start there.
The thing that made me really commit to being in HubSpot every day as my job was when I created a dashboard, and it showed all of the incoming leads that filled out the form to say, hey, I want a demo, please. So instead of getting the email notification, I had the dashboard on top of my sales, or the report on top of my sales dashboard, right? And then I saw the list of names that came in. I could get to them that way, and I would change the lead status to in progress to like get them off. Right. So I had a little filter. It is the simplest little thing, but if I started logging into that every day, then everything else sort of flowed from there. Right. Where I was now working in HubSpot and less and less in my inbox.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys get the lead flow, the workflow of leads coming in and then your rep team picking them up, let's say?
So I can tell you how we do it today and then where we're going to like literally tomorrow. Right now we have just a BDR team lead who assigns the lead.
Okay.
And so they'll assign it depending on segment or rep. Essentially, we're not that sophisticated just yet. It's round robin. And then every rep we have a view. So like in contacts, we've created a view and the reps can see which leads have been assigned to them.
Okay.
So it's the same concept that you just mentioned is like, okay, what are my leads? What am I working in? What's the status, right? Where we're going tomorrow, Davey Paragon's played a like huge role in this. It's taken us some time, but we're ready to roll this out. We're excited is automating all of this. So based on the form fill, based on ICP, based on lead scoring, I mean, we've literally leveled up in a lot of different areas. It's going to automatically route to the different ADR or the different AE. So if it's, if it's a leader, if it's a demo request or like a pricing request or any sort of RFI and they meet ICP criteria, all of that's going to be automated and it's going to go directly to the AE moving forward. If it's an inquiry, right? So like maybe a white paper download or a case study download or just some sort of tinkering on the website, and they meet ICP, then that goes to the BDR, and then they can nurture that until it's ready to meet with an AE. And all of that will be automated now.
That's cool.
And Jake's team, just to their credit, they've got an amazing marketing team, and so they're bringing in a lot of leads and from different channels significantly, and so they've got to have a way to. They're working on that way of getting it routed, and for a smaller shop, right? That's, hey, a lead comes in, let's just call it, right? The old entrepreneurial days of, man, it came in, I'm gonna follow up on this. But when you've got several different leads, things that people that have just downloaded a white paper about something that's kind of leading, that you're showing thought leadership for, it's a little bit different. But lead routing is I think that's one of the. So if I could tell you guys why I wanted to, the reason I moved over to HubSpot, I've been doing Salesforce for, over 10 years. If you guys talked about reports, man, when people ask me to do reports, I'd usually change the subject because I never wanted to build reports for them in Salesforce. It was one thing I would always try to avoid. It was just too complicated. And I went to several meetings and user groups and would sit down with guys, and I had to spend hours on my own trying to figure out. And part of it is just me. I mean, I wasn't that analytical at the time to try to figure things out. Now that I can see the database in my mind a little bit better, it's a lot easier. But when you're trying to do that, the reason that I moved over is the fact that I saw that HubSpot was doing marketing, and marketing is what leads to sales. And the teams that I was working with before, sales and marketing were trying to work together but never did. I had a company I worked with where we had guys making all sorts of marketing videos. I mean, they would do stop motion animation with Lego figurines and stuff. And and it would be about something that we did, and they would spend weeks on it, and it had nothing to do with our product. And I was like, we're missing the alignment, guys. We're trying to sell a high-end B2B product over here, and you're still trying to get just low-end fruit, and sales and marketing were not aligned. And so one of the things I liked about HubSpot when we talk about lead nurturing and lead routing is the fact that you can now have better visibility from a sales rep perspective and from a marketing perspective of everything that's going on. You can see that a sales rep is following up on a client that read this white paper or visited this page on the website, right? And even though most marketing automation tools connect with the larger system, now you have some fluidity. And now and it's becoming a staple, right? I got people that are like, well, because of HubSpot, they're seeing that, and that's just becoming the standard now. I should just be able to see where these people came from. I should see how they're interacting with us. And it's become a staple for it. And so it was really, a couple of years ago when I started making this change as a partner and doing this, that was one of the biggest things that caught my eye. This is going to move up market very easily for people, and especially with the changes that they're making within sales and the Sales Hub and the things that are already staples now. There's that big change. I don't know if you guys have seen that, Greg, from your end, but that's one of the reasons why I totally caught hold of this, was just that connection between sales and marketing, that smarketing as they call it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Back when I was in the funnel, and it still happens to this day, one of the favorite things that our marketing team would do would be to set up rep notifications of, hey, here's a hot lead that has taken an action, right? And so getting that in your inbox, waking up and seeing 10 of these awesome notifications, is really cool. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, to be honest, though, because I'm sure every generation says this, but it feels like there's more things that we need to do today than ever before. And this idea of prioritization and being proactive is really challenging, right? And so getting folks to focus on the right activities, because oftentimes we can be busy and feel like, all right, we accomplished a lot today, and then you leave the office or close your computer or whatever you're doing these days. It's like you actually sit back and think like, what did I actually get done? And you've just been putting out other people's fires, right? And so one of the rep notifications that our marketing team sets up are great. But when I bring on new team members now, I'm like, look, you got to set up a separate folder in your inbox to have those things automatically go to, because there's just so many notifications you can get, and like you need to be focused on the right things. And so I'll kind of coach my reps to, when they come in, first thing they do is look at, pick a view, pick a list from the dashboard, and like your goal is to kind of pick 20 of those, call it, right? And then rifle through them, first thing. Be proactive on those, on that install base that you want to go after. Be proactive on these kind of target accounts you want to go after. And then let all the other stuff, go through the higher priority, the more urgent things that come in overnight. Because otherwise you're just living in your inbox, and then you're just kind of toggling back and forth, and just leads to overall lower productivity. So it's important to be able to get the real-time notifications, and you can do that in HubSpot, through Slack or email, or just in the tool itself. But it is kind of a challenge to balance. I don't know if any tool or system is actually going to solve it. It's like, it really does require kind of training the rep, training the person to be thinking the right way.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so let's take a quick pause and get on to our last topic. So I just want to remind the audience, if you have questions, feel free to type those into the chat, and we are looking at those, and we will get to those as they come in. And so the last topic, I want to talk about pipelines, the pipeline functionality, because we talked about this before the show. Like, there's just so many different ways to use it. We set it up in a certain way, and I think we may have over-engineered it. But Jake, I'd like to hear from you. Are you using the pipelines? Are you segmenting your pipelines by certain criteria, and how are you doing that?
Yeah, kind of. In our core direct, we have 3 pipelines. We have direct pipeline, right? So our direct sales force. We have a pipeline for kind of install-based renewals, right? And then if there's expansions, those go into our direct pipeline. And then there's a channel pipeline for we have a big partner, Seismic, that we do a lot of partner deals with. And so we have a separate pipeline for them. When I first came here, we had an additional pipeline, which was like an SDR pipeline, right? Where they were going through their initial like pipeline creation stages. And then we consolidated everything into one single pipeline. And basically all of, like, I think it was like 4 stages in that pipeline. I consolidated all into one in our core pipeline. So that just became stage 1. And then everything past stage 2 is an SAL or an opportunity. So if it's in stage 1, it's an SQL, right? It means that the SDR is trying to work that, right, and set it up for approval. If it falls into stage 2, that means the AE's accepted it and is now working it, and that's where I'm measuring the close rates moving forward. I think there's pluses and minuses to that. I do think that it doesn't account for what all the behaviors are that the SDR might do before that. But in another way, it's cleaned things up. The real motivation for it was to try to keep all of our contacts out of HubSpot, so we didn't have to pay for extra contacts.
What do you do with the contacts?
We were trying to do an outreach, and so we could just put everything in a third-party tool.
I see.
But we changed that motion and realized that we could do the things that we were doing at the time with outreach in HubSpot. So we've migrated back, and we just haven't changed the motion. We ended up upgrading to more contacts, and then over the last several months, HubSpot's actually increased kind of the caps there too, made life easier for everyone. So that's how we're doing it.
Okay. And Greg, how do you guys use pipelines?
Yeah, so we have them based on, like, we have a new business pipeline. We have a like upgrade install base pipeline. We have a renewal pipeline. So we do it based on kind of like the revenue that's associated to.
Mm-hmm.
but I think the cool thing is like talking to clients is there's no like shortage of ways that you can use pipelines. So I've seen some really creative ones where it's based on like job function. So like the BDRs, like that motion is going to be different, right? And like the steps in that kind of sales process is going to be different, and like who they hand it off to is going to be different. So they're going to have a BDR pipeline, and they're going to have an AE pipeline, and they're going to have like a customer success pipeline, and then maybe like a renewal manager pipeline or something like that. I've seen some folks do it by like the industry that they sell to. So they have like a BDR pipeline, and they have like a target account pipeline and like a mid-market pipeline, because the stages and like the sales motions can be different there. I see people using pipelines for all types of, even like customer onboarding and success, and almost like using it as like a projects tool type of thing, right? Like someone, when a new customer comes on board, we need to get like these 5 things from them in order to kick off the project.
Yeah.
And that's like its own separate pipeline, and then it kicks to the install-based pipeline or something like that. So there's no shortage of how folks can use it. That's kind of the cool thing, is to see that. So yeah, but internally we use it mostly based on like new revenue versus install base versus renewals, things like that.
God, it feels like you could sort of, I don't want to, like we could mimic customer journeys.
Yeah.
Put that through there too.
We might say that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the way we try to set up our pipeline is by customer journey. And then the way you described the project managing the implementation and success side is exactly how we've set up our customer success pipeline.
Oh, that's cool.
With pipelines being like with automation built in, it makes it a really effective way to, when something gets passed from, like if you're waiting for a client to send over a document as an example, right? And you're in this like kind of document waiting stage, like that, moving that over there can then kick off a whole set of things internally to notify the right folks, set reminders, all types of things. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful tool once you kind of understand how it can be applied for each use case.
Cool.
Well, and the Kanban, what's really nice about it too, because you get the separate views in the Kanban and in the list view. Talking about what Greg was saying about project management, people that are looking at like the implementation or install or as a PM tool, the Kanban helps because then they can see the segmentation of where things are at and how big their load is in one stage versus another, is really visible for people. And then you can narrow it down by the user, by the teams that are managing those projects or those install base items, and kind of see where things are at, and then also track how they're flowing through. So you can like look through your funnel base. Bill, we're working on that with you guys. How are things flowing through each stage as they're in each pipeline, and how is it flowing over into each area? Is kind of cool, and kind of measure how that's being managed, and how much workload, right? Gives a lot to management to know how heavy things are at in certain areas, and if they need to either change a process because it's getting too overloaded in one area, or to change, headcount as part of that too. So a lot of great things going back to reporting that you can get from that as well.
Yeah, we started using pipelines because we didn't really have a lot of confidence in our ability to use the life cycle stage to measure the flow through a funnel. And so we use the pipelines as one pipeline for top of the funnel, like an awareness phase, right? And then and then we move it over to another pipeline when it goes to an AE. So now there's a sales process, the consideration sort of phase, or the buying phase, and then a renewal pipeline. And frankly, I'm having a hard. I think we've over-engineered it. I don't really like it, but on the other hand, we have all these stages, right? And so we sort of we have dashboards, thanks to Dave for setting this up, but that's how we're doing it. We're like replicating the marketing and sales funnels, really, and not really doing it like a pipeline, like I would think, like by product or by business unit, or like you guys are doing by sales team or by channel. Those seems logical to me, but we're doing it a little bit differently. So we're learning.
I'm curious, but Bill, do you find that makes it easier for some of the reporting that you want to create, or it actually makes it hard to generate some of the aggregate reporting that you want?
Well, the funnel report, how you see the conversion rates, and it sort of goes down that list. Those came out actually pretty clean because each of the stages shows up there and you see the number and the percentage. So it's actually pretty good. The part we haven't gone to is like linking it to the life cycle stage, right? Because there's a lot more functionality built around that. That's sort of core to HubSpot, I think. And so we need to do some automation to say, okay, if it's in this stage of this pipeline, put it as a lead or an MQL or an SQL and sort of define that, right? I think that will help us improve on our visibility.
Makes sense.
So that, I tell you what, the only thing annoying about it is I hate moving from one pipeline to the other because it's like, it changes the date. Like the thing is, like if there's not, I have to create a deal for something that I might not qualify because you have to have a deal to go into a pipeline. So practically speaking, I don't think I should create a deal in a top of the funnel scenario, right? Because people are still.
That's the one piece of it that sounded, I'd rethink that one, the top of the funnel one.
Yeah.
Maybe having.
You should be using your lead status.
Totally. I agree with that. Yeah.
But it actually raises a good point because like with not just HubSpot, but any system, right? Like you can implement it in any kind of fashion you want typically, right?
Exactly.
And oftentimes the questions and the way the clients like we're doing it this way. What do you guys recommend? It's like, well, yeah, that's a fine way to do it. You could also do it this way. I mean, you could do it any way you want. It really comes down to like from a business perspective, like how what's important to you and ironing out like your own like internal processes. And I tend to see that where it's like people come into the business and say, this is a great idea and we're going to take it and we're going to make these modifications and like that's what happened with us with Salesforce and our usage was like, as our business kept growing and adding more people and ultimately more products, it's like the easy thing to do was just to tack on a little bit more, right? Someone else would come in and let's try it this way too. And next thing you know, you've got this really kind of big and kludgy system that's really hard to manage and trace back, right? And so that like this idea of like keeping things simple is actually really hard. That's the easy part.
That's for sure.
I will tell you though, Greg, Bill mentioned the funnel reports. I'm going to give HubSpot a hard time. I know you guys love that funnel report, but I want a close rate report. That's what I want. I want to see what the close rates are by stage and be able to visualize how successful we are by stage and close rates. Funnel report, that's great, but that's for marketing. So let's put in a plug for that one.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things to your point of, like the product doesn't have everything. It's not like the perfect, solution today. What I love about our approach is, I guess as you call it agile, but like we're constantly rolling out new features and improvement, making updates. So I'd agree. Like if that's something that's not there today, then we'll try to put it into the product roadmap, and who knows when we get that turned around for you.
Yeah.
Very good. So we're coming up on time. So I think I don't see any questions in the chat. So I think we'll wrap this up and I'll hand it over to you, David. So Jake, Greg, this was a great conversation. I enjoyed this a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. Of course, guys.
Thanks.
David, over to you.
Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys are great guys. I think this is actually a really good mix of people here. And I'm hoping that in the future, I hope you guys will come back. I'd like to do this maybe again next year as we see things change. I think a lot of things, Greg, you don't have, just nod your head. Yes, we'll accept it. But there's a lot of great changes coming in September. Some new features that are rolling out, right?
Yes.
All right. We don't want to get into any with the Salesforce put safe harbor items, but I know that there's a lot more coming into the Sales Hub, which is going to enhance it. Things that will allow you, Jake, to kind of take things to the next level. But I think it's going to make a change for larger companies in general that want to see they want to see things simple, but they also want to see some of the complicated items that they're going to have within their sales cycle, interacting. I'm working right now on an item and connecting an ERP system with another client. They sell hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment every year, and being able to pull that data in for them from a customer service standpoint, but also from a sales standpoint. People that are managing accounts, that are doing day-to-day sales like reps. There's a lot of that going on. I got another client that have the same thing. They're putting in orders constantly every day, and how do they manage those orders within the system are things that they're trying to work with. And we're working within that ecosphere right now. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. And you guys are kind of on the cusp of something that's growing into a pretty neat system that's keeping things simple. It's just the evolution of time. We've all seen it. We all had Excel, right, back in the day, and and that's how we managed everything. And then we got like the next system that came up. I remember using the old what's the database system called that you'd map everything to? I swear it was a Microsoft tool. I did it in college. That was the only time I ever worked with it. Does anybody remember the name of that?
Access,
yeah. Access database. Did either of you guys ever work in that, Greg or Jake?
No,
I had one college course, but not enough.
Yeah. So I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, man, look at this. Look at what it can do. And it took the amount of setup that it took was ridiculous, because you literally had to map everything, every little contact, every little object. And it was like the beginning of what we have today. So, but again, appreciate everybody being here and for your time. And if you guys are open to it, maybe you'd like to take this a next step next year. We'll invite a few other panelists with us and maybe do this again. You guys up for that?
Absolutely.
Good. We'll keep this ongoing. So thanks for those that attended, and feel free to post a comment about this. We did put it up on Facebook, so post some questions there. Maybe we'll respond to them as well and try to get your questions answered if you were a little shy today. So thanks again, gentlemen, and have a wonderful day.
cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.